The courtroom in Huntsville was packed so tightly that you could almost feel the air growing heavier by the second. Every seat was taken, and those who couldn't find a spot stood silently in the back, waiting for something explosive to happen. It wasn't an ordinary custody battle between two former partners. No, this was bigger. This was the kind of showdown where reputations could be ruined in front of an audience, both inside the courtroom and out in the world. When Martell walked in, he carried himself as though he had already won. His chest was pushed forward, his suit pressed sharply, and his smirk suggested he had no doubts. He looked like a man ready to celebrate a victory lap rather than fight for one. Every step he took was confident, as if the entire day was simply a formality. But right behind him came Melody. Her presence told a completely different story. She was calm, composed, not a single hair out of place. While Martell was blazing fire, full of pride and arrogance, Melody was ice, cool, collected, and unreadable. The difference between them said everything before a single word was even spoken. For weeks, Martell had been talking about this hearing like it was his grand moment of triumph. According to people close to him, he told friends and associates that this was finally the day he would shut Melody down once and for all. His plan was simple: prove that Melody cared more about fame and her career than about her children. He wanted the court to see her as distracted and unfit, painting himself as the parent who should hold more control. In his mind, this was his chance to flip the narrative. He had convinced himself that once the judge saw his evidence, Melody's credibility would collapse, and he would finally regain power, not just in the custody arrangement, but also in public opinion. But what Martell didn't realize was that Melody had been preparing long before he ever thought he had the upper hand. The hearing began, and Martell's team wasted no time going on the offensive. They brought out social media posts, red carpet appearances, video clips of Melody working on her music and filming television scenes. The picture they tried to paint was clear. Melody was too busy chasing attention to properly care for her children. At first glance, some in the courtroom leaned forward, curious about whether the accusations held weight. But the more Martell's side pushed, the more their arguments began to feel bitter rather than factual. The energy shifted. Instead of presenting a strong legal case, they seemed to be airing personal grudges. The more they talked, the more unconvincing it became. People began exchanging glances, silently questioning if this was really the best Martell had. The judge listened patiently, but the lack of solid evidence was hard to ignore. Then it was Melody's side. No flashy performance, no emotional outbursts, just pure, undeniable evidence. Her team calmly laid out documents and records that told a completely different story. They produced school attendance logs signed by Melody herself, proving her involvement in her children's education. They presented email exchanges between her and teachers, showing her constant communication. Neighbors gave statements about how often they had seen her balancing work and parenting duties at the same time. There was even a letter from the children's appointed guardian, confirming that Melody was consistent, attentive, and present whenever her kids needed her. Suddenly, the room felt different. The judge leaned forward. Listeners straightened in their seats. What was once seen as Martell's confident advantage was unraveling in real time. Just as Martell's team tried to recover, Melody's lawyer revealed new documents, verified and official. These weren't just supportive, they were devastating to Martell's argument. When those papers were placed on the table, witnesses say Martell's expression shifted immediately. His face dropped, not dramatically, but in a way that revealed deep shock. He looked like a man who had just realized his entire case was built on sand. The judge calmly addressed Martell's attorney, asking if this weak, flawed presentation was truly the foundation of their entire argument. Silence followed. Martell's team had no answer. Martell himself stared down at the table, his earlier arrogance completely gone. And at that moment, it was over. Many expected the hearing to be a dramatic back and forth, but it wasn't. It turned out to be Melody walking into court with truth and patience, while Martell clung to pride and resentment. The judge didn't just lean toward Melody's side, he criticized Martell's attempt to use the courtroom as a weapon. His words were sharp yet calm. "Mr. Holt, the court will not be used as a tool for revenge." The room went still, and even the bailiff reportedly cracked a small smile. It wasn't just a ruling, it was a rebuke. Melody didn't celebrate. She didn't smirk. She remained composed, the same way she had been from the moment she walked in. It was the posture of someone who knew she didn't need to prove herself because the evidence had already spoken louder than anything else. Martell, on the other hand, slipped out of the courtroom quickly, avoiding eye contact. Reporters tried to press him with questions, but he had nothing to say. The man who had been so loud in the weeks leading up to the hearing had suddenly gone completely silent. Outside, the news spread faster than wildfire. Fans who had gathered around the courthouse immediately began posting updates online. Within hours, Twitter exploded with hashtags like #TeamMelody, #CourtVictory, and #HuntsvilleDrama. TikTok filled with reenactments and fan breakdowns. Screenshots, memes, and reaction videos took over social feeds. People weren't just talking about the verdict. They were analyzing everything. How Melody never lost her composure, how Martell's jaw tightened when that last piece of evidence was revealed, and how the judge's words echoed like a final nail in the coffin. "Mr. Holt, the court will not be used as a tool for revenge." Those words became quotes on t-shirts, memes, and even wallpapers. The cast of Love and Marriage Huntsville couldn't stay quiet either. Kimmy allegedly told a close friend that she admired Melody's composure and believed others could learn from her grace under pressure. Marceau posted a cryptic tweet, "Some folks just need to sit down and stop embarrassing themselves, period." Of course, Miss Wanda jumped in to defend Martell, accusing the judge of bias and claiming Melody was playing the victim card. But instead of helping, her comments only fueled more arguments online. While Martell still had defenders, the tide had turned. Melody wasn't just seen as a celebrity anymore. She was now viewed as a strong, grounded woman who put her children first. For Martell, the questions came quickly. Why bring this case at all? Why now? If he truly cared about the children, why drag them into a courtroom battle fueled by resentment? Many speculated that this was another attempt to control the narrative and pull Melody back into chaos. But if that was his plan, it failed badly. His image took the hardest hit. Once admired for his charm and confidence, Martell now looked bitter and exposed. Former supporters grew quiet, and those who tried to defend him online were drowned out by criticism. The biggest blow wasn't just losing the case, it was losing credibility. Meanwhile, Melody didn't gloat. She thanked her supporters, but refused to brag. She turned down most interviews, focusing instead on her kids and her career. Her message was clear. Her priority wasn't proving Martell wrong, but protecting her children's stability. Her fan base grew stronger. Pages celebrated her as a mother, a businesswoman, and a role model. What she showed in court went beyond custody. It was proof that strength doesn't always need noise. Sometimes it just needs truth. Producers of Love and Marriage Huntsville reportedly shifted entire storylines to focus on the aftermath of the case. Viewers weren't just tuning in for entertainment anymore. They wanted to see if Martell could recover from this public loss. Within the cast, alliances shifted. Some distanced themselves from Martell, while others stayed neutral. But Melody's respect had grown undeniable. Most importantly, the children's lives were protected. The judge made sure the ruling focused on their well-being, not their parents' egos. Melody had proven where her priorities lay, and the court recognized it. Whether Martell tries another legal route or accepts defeat is uncertain. Some believe he's planning his next move, while others think his silence means he knows this was his last chance. But one thing is clear, the balance of power has shifted permanently. Melody no longer has to fight to be heard. She leads with calm, clarity, and proof that when you walk in with truth on your side, there's no need to raise your voice.